Okay, we seem to be going, and may I say that the technical pitch stopped us going back on 6 o'clock. That was not us, it's the internet, which can be very difficult, it can be very, how should we say, very patient in much of sometimes it needs coaxing to get going. But anyway, it's going now, and let's see whether Router Radio out of East Sussex with Keith Hayes can bring you anything different, and that we have been talking over the music, and I hope that that's worked. So here we go. We are with you, and hopefully once the panic is over we can settle down to doing something of interest. And it's all right. We're broadcasting from the Runaway Cafe on Lewes Station this morning. That was Pavel, who runs the joint, and I say the joint very lovingly because it is a lovely, lovely cafe, by far above the standard of anything else you'll find on the stations, and for that matter, the staff at Lewes Station are far above what you'll find on any of the other stations around the network. And my question today is, do we have a generation of bad managers? I think that we do. And I think it's not confined to one particular area. Now, yesterday I came down here to catch a 8:45 train. With about 3 minutes to go, they announced that the train was defective and hadn't left Eastbourne. Now, it takes 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get from Eastbourne to Lewes. Why couldn't they have told us earlier that it hadn't left Eastbourne? But then, even so, the train to Brighton was standing on the other platform. Go via Brighton, they said, and you won't lose too much time. Only for us all to go roaring over to see the train leave. Now, if they had kept the train for another minute, we would all have been okay. We could have got to Brighton, a little bit inconvenienced, but we would have got to our destination in reasonable time. As it was, we had to wait another half hour for the next train. Well, it's not so much that you're waiting a half hour, but if in fact you've got one gentleman was very distressed. He was going to a funeral, and his connection was at Gatwick. But the fact of the matter is that Southern Rail is operationally led. They won't admit it, but everything they do is to do with operations. It is not to do with passengers. And I say passengers because that's what we are. We're passengers. What they do, they try to paper over the cracks by calling us something else, clients or customers or whatever. And the people on board are now online supervisors, or on board supervisors. They're not guards anymore. But it doesn't make any difference. What nonsense. If in fact you're not delivering the goods, then it doesn't matter. Any amount of changing the names and so on doesn't do any good. And I'm sorry, Southern Rail, but you are just papering over the cracks. What you're doing is you're trying to pretend that you're quite good, which seems to have fooled the Transport Minister, Chris Grayling, but it's not fooling your passengers. Along the southeast coast, we are known, apparently, as being the most dissatisfied train customers, passengers, whatever, anywhere in the country. And quite rightly so, because after my train being cancelled yesterday morning, and when I got to Haywards Heath, of course, the train that hooks up from Littlehampton hadn't arrived and was late. So that meant that, in fact, I came for a 8:45 train, which would have got me in for 10 o'clock or thereabouts, if it had been on time, I'm dumped at Victoria at 10:30. Now that just isn't acceptable. Oh, you can get compensation. Go on, compensation. I want a train that works. I want a train that gets me there on time. I don't care whether I get the cost of the ticket back. I mean, that gives you some salve, some balm, I suppose, but I really want a train that works. That's what I want, and that's what most of our customers want, and that's what the train company isn't delivering. Lo and behold, we come back. I managed to get back in time for the 5:15 last night. out of Victoria Station. Cancelled. And cancelled with 2 or 3 minutes to go before it was supposed to leave. They didn't know? Oh, come on. Even if they are operationally led, they didn't know? They're not going to let us know. Oh, I mean, ridiculous. Then, the 5:45, which is the next one, and which will still not get us home until 7 o'clock, is it's announced, the platform is announced at 2:15. They didn't know that the train was going to be delayed, so it's 5 minutes leaving. It barrels along, but in the evening there's a lot of traffic, so it gets held up, so it arrives late. I mean, you can't make it up with this lot. And that poses the question, do we have a generation of managers who are incompetent, who just can't manage? And I suspect, and I suggest, that we do. Let's take a half day. That's lively enough, isn't it? A nice little piece there. Called Half Day. A lot of this music you won't hear elsewhere. We get it from YouTube, and we get it from a couple of very nice people who run websites with their own music on, and some of it is damn good. Anyway, that's called A Half Day, and I hope that everybody gets a half day. We deserve it. The warning is still there for snow. Nobody knows where it's going to fall. The one thing they are pretty sure about is that the temperatures are going to drop, and they were cool enough yesterday. And when I think about it, talking about the well-managed or otherwise train company, is there were at least 3 announcements last night of trains cancelled because of the technical fault on the train that was supposed to deliver them. So they only find that out a few minutes before they're supposed to leave. Oh my God. And then there were a couple about signalling too. And I've got a gorgeous lady who's just come through. Morning, Lily, how are you?
Very good.
I'm well, thank you. This always gives me a great deal of pleasure, and if you come down to the Runaway, you are always greeted with beautiful ladies and a nice smiling Pavel. So come on down and have coffee. Yeah. Good stuff. But to add insult to injury, there was no heating in the carriages. So the temperatures are plunging, there's no heat in the carriages, and everybody is so jolly. We didn't exactly sing songs on the way around, although I was very tempted to light a campfire right in the middle of the aisle on the train. But then let's just turn to something else, because I did have the evening paper, the Evening Standard, not a paper that I have much time for, since it's being run by a Russian and a very strange politician who seems only to worry about himself. That's Lebedev and George Armstrong. Not George Armstrong. It is Osborne. I'm so sorry. Osborne, who has a very, basically he's not a journalist, and why he was appointed editor I have no idea, because the paper is just now just a silly nonsense. It's not worth reading for anything other than if you can get through the crosswords in time, or if you're a lovey and you want to know who was at the party in the A-list, B-list and C-list the night before. Anyway, that's that newspaper, but one of the things that it did point out was that somebody else had been stabbed again. An unprovoked attack. A boy dies yards from his home. A couple of other people who simply had somebody with a knife launch themselves on them. And that has happened in Lewes on the website, the web group, Lewes Present, a couple of days or so ago. There was somebody who was asking for any information because his wife had been pounced upon on the way home somewhere from around the Lamb pub, right in the centre of town, by a woman and beaten up. There have been other reports of the group of girls going around and damaging stuff and being pretty aggressive, and one wouldn't want to come after them. Now, the police have got the same old tired story. We can do so much better with cars from a central place. No, you can't. What you need is a copper on the beat with a whistle. It worked. It worked long ago. And I'm a Luddite. But that's one thing, that your car service, where a car can't get anywhere near as fast from Eastbourne, no matter what you say. The fact is that the police are once again operationally led, and the chief constables in the main have got PhDs and all sorts of things, but very few of them, if any, ever came up from the beat. So they know, don't they, exactly what goes on the beat? No, they don't. So as a consequence, we are academically run by the police. And they say, don't worry, we're really looking after cybercrime, we're keeping your computer safe. Well, you can have anything in my computer. Believe me, I really don't care. And if you're talking about a bank account, anybody can have my details, because if somebody would like to pick up my overdraft and my other debts, I would be most grateful. But the fact is that even if cybercrime is as desperate as the police say, we've got to make provision for looking after citizens on the street. And the chief constable has been quoted as saying, well, Lewes is particularly is a low crime area, we'll shift the police somewhere else. Do you think that the criminals don't know that? And we are now starting to get crime in Lewes that we haven't had in the 27 years that I've lived here. Lewes